What is up? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Back here with some more Resident Evil gameplay for you. And we have a lot to discuss with the recent release information regarding Resident Evil Requiem with Gamescom that just happened just recently. And I'm going to try to get to the most important things. I plan on making a lot more videos, so plan on that in the near future. But before I get into what was shown off, I do want to showcase this. This actually came earlier in the day, which if you go on ResidentEvilPortal.com, they actually are talking about the 30th anniversary of Resident Evil, and they actually had this really cool artwork, as you can see on the screen here, which has Leon, Chris, Claire, Jill, Ada, and Grace, and it has a lot of hints and references all in the background of each of the characters. I'm not going to lie to you, I think that looks dope as hell. I'm definitely going to have to get that one day just framed and put on a wall. But nonetheless, let's get back to the reason why you clicked on this video and all the information that was shown off at Gamescom regarding Resident Evil Requiem. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So right off the bat, with this trailer, we basically have a whole trailer dedicated to Grace and her mother, Alyssa. And we now confirmed that basically when in the original trailer that Grace was remembering the moment up with her mother's death, she was there with her. She was there with her at that hotel. And when we had like the flashbacks of the split images of Alyssa like going through the door, that was Grace behind her as Alyssa was trying to lead her daughter out of there. But we basically get the whole crux of that was all in this hotel. And basically they were staying there, and it looks like from the pinpoint that they're being hunted. Now Grace has no idea about this. She's kind of lost in her own world on her laptop in this hotel room while her mother's kind of looking out, making sure they're not being followed. It's a phone call that basically gets their attention as Grace picks up and asks, "Who is it?" And they ask, "Is it Miss Ashcroft?" She responds, "Yes," which prompts them to hang up abruptly. And as soon as she tells her mother that, she realizes that the jig is up and they gotta go. She never has enough time to really explain what is happening. We can, guess and surmise herself as fans. Only this obviously is Resident Evil. Alyssa has ties to Raccoon City and things like that. But I'm only going by what we know through the trailer. And obviously this is where they also meet the person we saw in the original trailer, where the guy in a suit who apparently works there and eventually gets attacked by the person who puts a bag over his head and eventually slits his throat, which proceeds to have both Grace and Lisa go in a room, and kind of Grace showing a little bit of her characteristics of not being used to this environment. She's very distressed. She's very much on edge and wondering what in the world is going on, and her mother not having enough time to explain, which unfortunately doesn't really get the opportunity to, because at the end of the trailer, basically her mother is attacked by something that we don't quite see on the camera until the trailer ends. Now, I also want to put out that this is not the end of information we're going to be getting, because stay tuned for tomorrow, because people are now going to have the ability at the Gamescom to go on hands with the game and have a playable demo part. I'm going to assume it's that section there where you're basically got to follow Grace got to follow her mother Alyssa in that whole segment. So that would be interesting to put, and it'll also be interesting because basically I don't believe, because you're controlling Grace, I'm assuming you don't have any weapons. It seems like you're just trying to follow her. So it's one of those segments where they'll probably get, and I'm just guessing, I don't know what the playable segment is, but I'm assuming it's that. It'll give you something to play, but ultimately not really show too much at the same time, other than stuff narratively, because it's not really give you something to fight. I don't know if something pops up in the gameplay yourself, you're not going to have like weapons and stuff. And it's very similar to the demos of Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8, where basically it's more just kind of like walking about and avoiding things instead of fighting them, which I guess from a gameplay perspective doesn't sound very interesting, but I also understand why it needs to be done too, because at the end of the day, you don't want to show too much, because a lot of people had the wrong impression. I remember Resident Evil 7's demo and playable sections they showed off, they were more kind of like a puzzle, putting them together and stuff. You didn't really have much to fight except for that one, I believe, I can't think, molded, that they had in the whole basement area that you could easily just run by. But other than that, you didn't really have anything to really fight against. Village was more avoiding it to the end, but you get the point. So I figure it'd be much of the same here. They don't want to show off too much. Now, I've already heard some people say this sounds very disappointing because they're going to address the elephant in the room. And this is something I was right on in my prediction, is that I didn't believe they would show any big major things like an OG character. Obviously, everyone was expecting Leon or maybe someone else or more than one OG character. And that did not happen. And ultimately, I think that was easily the right decision. Why? Because once again, if this is supposed to be the beginning of the end, you're supposed to prop up a new character, you have to give that character a chance to shine. And if you just show off one of the OG characters like that, then all the attention is going to go completely off them, and they're going to go crazy for whoever it is, Leon, Jill, Chris, whoever. That's where all the attention is going to go on to. So if you want people to be invested in a brand new character, well, you have to show that you have faith in that. So I think this was definitely the right decision. Also, I think that thing is going to be revealed. Whoever is going to be in this game as recognizable iconic characters is going to be revealed more towards, I predicted, the Game of the Year awards, possibly Tokyo Game Show, but later on in the year, not this early. Still a lot of months to go beforehand. So they're going to keep the attention on Grace, and I think that is the right decision because none of the OG characters would have ever been as iconic as they were if they weren't given a chance to thrive and shine. So Grace has to get that same thing. And considering the fact that they put her on that 30th anniversary artwork, I assume, but it definitely seems like they have big plans for her, and I hope they do, and I hope they execute and have a brand new established character that we can look at as one of the OG characters and stand alongside them, even Steven. But only time will tell about that. Ultimately, I will admit, and I won't deny this, I was a little bit disappointed too. And not from the fact that I was expecting to be shown much, but it was just like, from what it showed, I can understand why some people were a little bit disappointed, because let's be honest, that was not something you save for the end of this show. That's something that you probably show more in the middle. I waited 2 hours because I didn't think the Gamescom was bad. I just feel like, once again, my biggest problem is I don't have the highest attention span, and I don't want to sit here 2 hours for stuff that probably could be condensed in at least an hour if they didn't waste so much time talking and having needless things there that they don't really need to do. I get it, I understand it, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't say it was bad, but I will say at least the last 35 minutes of it was solid. I mean, you had some Chronos gameplay, can't wait to be playing that. Some Silent Hill F gameplay. And by the way, one game that was really new that I honestly thought it was ResidentEvilRequiem for a split second until I realized it wasn't, it was another survival horror game, was the Project Spectrum, which gave me it for a split second. I was like, man, because some of like the black veins or the goo or whatever you want to call it in the ground just reminded me of that Resident Evil 7 intro and stuff like that. And how it had that black stuff and mold on the ground. So it gave me for a split second, but overall it was decent. I won't say it's anything great, but enough. There's so many survival horror games coming out that I'm really so excited for. So there's a lot to talk about and move forward. Ultimately, I think as survival horror fans, it's a great time for it. We also got the OG Resident Evil 2 and 3 coming out today, and that's something that I definitely am happy, do some videos and content on that. So a lot to talk about. But at the end of the day, as I always like to say, that is my opinion. I want to hear your guys' opinion. How did you feel about the Resident Evil Requiem trailer? Are you just excited for it? Do you think it was maybe not what you wanted? Is it kind of par for the course? What are some of your speculations and theories of seeing that? What direction to go towards? And do you think you'll get anything interesting next day? And when do you think they will reveal the big, whoever's in the game, OG character or characters? Let me know down in the comment section down below. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. And hopefully I can see you guys back on the next one. Thanks, and I'll see you all later. Peace.